Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we got our fourth sneak peek for the upcoming Warriors of the Sky update that's going to be hitting on January 7th, January 8th, depending on where you live in the world. And yeah, it's the Tier 3 sneak peek, so whoever we're about to see in this sneak peek is going to be the character that gets Tier 3, and you should have your eyes peeled for the Tier 3 symbol. This one's a little bit harder, so don't blink or you might miss it. Let's check it out. Pretty cool animation, pretty cool animated sneak peek. We got Crescent, and then it flashes over to Io. The nice thing visually is that it goes through her mask, through the crescent on her mask, so it's nice there. And then if you did miss it, and if you also didn't pay attention to the thumbnail, or if YouTube is still cucking me and you're not seeing the thumbnails, you have to pause it really fast, but here on Io's fists. We have a T right there, and then a 3 right there. Now, fun fact, this is probably the most cryptic or the most sort of hidden Tier 3 sneak peek we've had in a very long time. Usually the Tier 3s are very obviously slapped right in your face with the literal word, with literal T and the 3 printed in large font and sometimes even circled or pointed at. Really, it's hard to miss. This one is quite easy to miss, so I want to point that out, but I also kind of want to applaud Marvel Future Fight for making it just a little bit harder for us. I mean, we kind of knew whoever we were going to see was going to be the Tier 3 because it fits the pattern. The fourth sneak peek is always the Tier 3 sneak peek. Wonder if the third sneak peek should be the Tier 3 sneak peek. Anyways, but yeah, so Crescent. Now, before we talk about Crescent Tier 3 and what that means for the game and what that means for the update and what that means for you and what that means for me, just want to give you guys a quick heads up. So this video is going live at 9 a.m. Eastern time. If you're watching it later, you're just going to have to do the math based on where you are and what time it is. But approximately 10 hours after this video goes live at 7 p.m. Eastern time, I will go live on Twitch, and then half an hour after that at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, there's going to be a Facebook live stream and also joint YouTube live stream. I believe they should have a notice for it in here, but they don't have a notice for it. But there is a live stream coming up today for me because I'm still recording this at night. So you want to get your butt over to twitch.tv/Cynicalex, watch the live stream with us. You'll be able to see not only the live stream with Cage and Kim and anyone else, but you'll also be able to see our reaction and talk to people in chat and sort of theorize about the game. Some people are really, really hawk-eyed. They have really good vision. They catch things that just appear on the screen for a split second. So you'll be able to get that sort of breaking news right away, plus all the insight from people in the chat and my opinions and reactions as well. And, you know, it's a pretty fun time, I have to say. Now, moving on to Crescent getting her Tier 3. So this sort of piggybacks and sort of snowballs on the idea that I had thrown out in a video recently, but I'll remind you guys in case you haven't seen it, that more than any other type, the combat type has become very expensive to Tier 3. So besides the very first two combat Tier 3s, Captain America and Black Panther, every other Tier 3 has been either 1.5 or 2 times cost. So native Tier 2, Mr. Fantastic, and then Wolverine, and then Apocalypse, or they're 800 CCF, but they're premium characters. Namor is the X-Gene sub. So out of the 6 that we have here, 5 of them are either increased cost via native Tier 2 status in terms of CCF and materials, or it costs real money to unlock the character to begin with in the form of Namor. So 2 out of 6 are sort of free-to-play friendly and 800 CCF. 2 out of 6. That's about to become 2 out of 7. Because although Crescent is going to be an 800 CCF character, she's going to be, and she is, a paywall. Now, on the plus side, the good thing about Crescent getting her Tier 3 is that there's a strong chance, not a guarantee, but there's a strong chance that Crescent will get an event battle. So if you have a 6-star Crescent, or even if you have a 5-star Crescent, you can use these events to rank her up by getting her biometrics and possibly getting her to Tier 2, so that then you can get her to Tier 3 if you want to get her to Tier 3. And we'll talk about her strength in just a minute, but first I want to highlight that 2 out of 7 characters in the combat class for Marvel Future Fight are 800 CCF and they're free to play friendly. That's shitty. That's really a bad ratio, because if you look at every other class, it's much, much better. Looking at the Blast class, 3 of the 6 tier 3s, so 50%, rather than 2 out of 6 or 2 out of 7, 3 out of 6 are free-to-play friendly. Sharon Rogers is given to you tier 2, so she's completely free in that sense. And then Cyclops and Iron Man are both easy to farm. Then Doctor Strange and Jean Grey are more expensive. Magneto is actually cheaper. He's 800, but he has that crystal cost associated. Moving over to the Speed class, Ant-Man and Spider-Man are both cheap and free. Luna Snow is cheap, 800 CCF, but she's a bio sub character. And then Quicksilver and Deadpool round out the list as the 2 expensive ones in terms of CCF at 1200, but we still don't have a 1600 double cost, uber native tier 2 speed type, because the speed class just doesn't have one. And then for Universal, 2 of them are free, and 1 of them is, of course, double cost in Thanos. So here, 66% of the characters are 800 CCF and free-to-play friendly. Here, we have, 50% of them are 800 CCF, or actually more than 50%, whatever would be 60%. 60% of them are 800 CCF, and then 40% of them are free-to-play. Friendly, like Ant-Man and Spider-Man, I mean. And then we talked about the percentage here, but then going back to this one, it's just really, really bad. So I think Marvel Future Fight I'm not complaining necessarily about Crescent, but I'm saying that the next Combat Tier 3, whenever we get another Combat Tier 3, we are getting back-to-back Combat Tier 3s here with Apocalypse and Crescent. We're probably not going to see another Combat Tier 3 until like the middle or the end of the year, but the next Combat Tier 3 needs to be free-to-play friendly. It can't be native Tier 2. I don't think we have any other native Tier 2 combat types anyways, thankfully. It can't be native Tier 2. It should not be a crystal. It should not be a crystal character. And it should not be a paywall character. So no Agent Venom. As much as you guys would like it, it shouldn't be Carnage. Okay? It shouldn't be Juggernaut. Okay? It should be a free character. This is getting a little suspect over here, okay? It kind of seems like you guys are doing it on purpose. Okay. Now, focusing instead on Crescent's power level as an upcoming tier 3. Crescent is pretty weak right now in Marvel Future Fight. Although compared to the shittiest characters, she is fine. I would actually say that compared to all characters in the game, Crescent is good. She's in a good place. She's a good, solid character. She's not too strong. She's not too weak. It's the whole porridge thing in the Three Bears and Goldilocks. She's got some damage. She's got some defenses. She's got some iframes. She's got some self-healing. She's basically got a little bit of everything. She's got a little sprinkling of everything. But when you compare her to like the high-end characters, the more OP characters, and especially when you compare her to Sharon Rogers and Luna Snow, who are the other two original characters who have their tier 3, Crescent is weak. When you compare her to Luna and to Sharon, she is weak. So just getting her tier 3 is probably not going to be enough by my speculation, unless they change some of her abilities. Now, it's an interesting situation because Crescent was one of the uniforms that I criticized the most from that update where we had like 10 or 8 new uniforms. And I do think that it would be a good idea for Marvel Future Fight and the devs to rework 1 or 2 of her skills to make them stronger, and then to make it more appealing to not only tier 3 here, but to get this Lifestyle Series uniform. Because right now I don't think this Lifestyle Series uniform is really worth it on its own. People might purchase it just because her tier 3 is really strong, but that would be kind of a shitty reason to buy a uniform. So I think they should rework the uniform a little bit, and then, that would make it so that her tier 3 skill doesn't have to be that overpowered, because right now she's going to need like a top 5 tier 3 in terms of damage. Like, it's going to need to be, either as strong as Namor's tier 3 and have all the utility of Namor's tier 3 in terms of like the team buffs and stuff like that, or it's going to need to be as strong in raw damage as Sharon Rogers tier 3 in order for Crescent to actually be taken seriously as a character. Having a bad tier 3 skill or like a so-so tier 3 skill is probably not going to cut it, because the combat class, more than any other, is really split. You've got Namor, Captain America, and Apocalypse up at the top, and then there's a huge gap, and then there's Mr. Fantastic, and then there's another huge gap, and then there's Wolverine, and then there's another huge gap at the bottom, and then there's Black Panther. And really really new players and most players are actually not even recommended to tier 3 Black Panther, Mr. Fantastic, or Wolverine. So really only half of the tier 3s of the combat class are even considered for most players. So that already puts Crescent in an awkward position. So we've covered the character, we've covered the combat class in general and what the themes of it seem to be and sort of the negative trend towards expensive combat tier 3s. And we've also covered, what Crescent could bring in terms of the event battle and things like that. What's left to say? Well, I think some people are probably pissed off that Crescent is getting a tier 3 to begin with, because that means she's going to get stronger. She's going to be pushed into the spotlight again. She was introduced last year. She got another uniform. She got her first uniform within a year, and now she's getting her tier 3, whereas there are tons of characters, but even if you just want to go within the combat class, there's tons of classic characters who not only need a huge rework in terms of their damage and in terms of their skills and their healing, but they also deserve is kind of a weird word, but they kind of need a tier 3. There's lots of iconic combat characters who just don't have and haven't gotten any sort of love, sometimes at all, ever, since they were first invented, right? Since they first came to the game. So I think that's really going to rub some people the wrong way, but it's a Warriors of the Sky update primarily. I think some people sort of forgot that because of the sort of futuristic tier sneak peek that we got for Captain America, Iron Man, and Black Widow. I think some people were maybe thinking Black Widow could get her tier 3 or something like that. But Crescent getting her tier 3 in a Warriors of the Sky update definitely makes sense. And I think most players thought she was going to get her tier 3 back when the Warriors of the Sky were announced in October. They were like, well, who's going to be the tier 3 for that update? Maybe all of the Warriors of the Sky will get a tier 3, or maybe it'll be Crescent because Io is the one, just protecting the Moon Shrine and summoning all of the Warriors of the Sky to come and help the Marvel Future Fight team to fend off the new threats that are coming. And that's sort of the storyline that they put out in that little video where Cage is narrating. So it makes perfect sense. So I don't really understand why people are upset. I understand why people are upset that more characters in Marvel Future Fight aren't being reworked. Because like I said, if you compare Crescent to the top end, she needs a lot of work. But if you compare Crescent to just within the combat class, she's in the top 10 already. She's already one of the top 10 best combat characters, or she's very, very close to the top 10 because the combat class is just so shitty. There's just so many shitty characters. Like this bottom row right here, Red Hulk to White Tiger, all of these characters are like ass tier. They're like ass tier characters. Scourge might be the best character here. The second tier actually somehow got worse. You know what? The second tier is worse. Besides Goliath, that whole tier is like, I don't know what you call it, cockroach tier. I really what the next tier, take out Swordmaster, and that tier is god awful, except for Valkyrie and Werewolf's self buffs or team buffs. This tier, Gorilla Man and She-Hulk, the rest of it is pretty trash. And like, you know what I like? So like literally half or more of the combat class is garbage tier. So I think that reason for being upset that more characters aren't being reworked, I think that's a valid rework. But that's an issue that Marvel Future Fight has to address update upon update upon update. That's something that they need to make a priority moving forward for the next year, 2, etc. They're not going to rework all these characters in one shot. So getting angry that Crescent is getting a tier 3 when you wanted Hulk to get a tier 3, that's only a difference of one character. Sure, Hulk gets his tier 3, but if they just continue to ignore characters in the future, Hulk's tier 3 is really not going to mean anything. It's going to make Hulk fans happy, but then everyone else is going to continue to suffer. So I don't really think it's fair to be angry with Crescent's tier 3 because it's taking away a tier 3 from another character. I'm glad, honestly, that the tier 3ing Crescent rather than a character that's stronger than Crescent. Crescent is not she's not amazing, so it's good that she's getting a tier 3 in that sense. So for example, some people are going to hate me for saying this, but Scarlet Witch, I would be angrier if she got a tier 3 because she's in a lot better place right now than Crescent. She doesn't need the upgrade. Same thing goes for someone like Doctor Doom. A lot of people wanted Doctor Doom to get his tier 3. I love Doctor Doom. I want him to get a tier 3. But a lot of other characters deserve it first, and I can play with Doctor Doom now and have fun. I can't really play with Hulk and have fun unless I'm doing some weird timeline battle experiment. Same thing goes for one of my favorite characters in the game, Silver Surfer. I would love for him to get a tier 3 and just take a fat shit on every other character in the game. but that would be really imbalanced, and it would be really unfair to like so many other universal types that deserve a tier 3 before Silver Surfer. So I have to take my personal joy and my personal bias out of it, and I have to just admit to myself that I would be much happier for the health of the game and the longevity of the game if Black Bolt got his tier 3 before Silver Surfer, or Heimdall, or Ghost Rider, or Jane Foster, or Quasar, or Nova, or Ultron, or Medusa, or Odin, or Dormammu. Like, any of those characters getting their tier 3 before Silver Surfer makes more sense to me. So I'm really not that irritated or mad about Crescent personally. But anyways, that's just my take on it. I hope these tips have been helpful to you guys. Hopefully the conversation has been interesting and possibly informative. Let me know what you guys think of Crescent getting her tier 3. Hopefully I will see you guys all tonight on the Twitch live stream with the watching of the Facebook live stream. Hit me up. Don't miss it. Join the Discord. Love you all. 2020. We're in it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.